60-minute drive for a 60-minute game. After all the miles we've traveled, we're almost there. After all the hours we've worked, one more can make us legends. After all
It's Saturday night, and no, this isn't Saturday Night Live because this is the last word. We're your last word here on college football for the evening. Of course, I am Jeff Barnes along with Greg Rector. And Greg, an exciting day in college. We get to talk about your team as one of the teams we're going to feature this week on the last word, but definitely a lot of interesting games still going on as well.
Absolutely. I'm watching Georgia here. They're going to put the boots to Tennessee, it looks like. They've got the football back with just over 2 minutes in the game. They're up 24-17. I think you're looking at the Oregon game.
Yeah, and Oregon was just about to score. And it technically should have been given a touchdown, but they blew the whistle thinking his knee was down. Once they blow the whistle,
Yeah.
It is what it is. But there's 2:39 left. Oregon's right now just kicked the field goal to go ahead. So they're up 16-13 on Wisconsin now with 2:36 left in Madison. So Wisconsin led most of this game. So we're seeing now where Oregon is fought back late in the game. Dan Lanning with with a gutsy fourth down call on the previous drive.
There we go.
So before we get deep into it, we're going to go through some of the earlier game scores. We're going to start off with two of our games that we're going to highlight. And then we will go deeper into the day. We have a couple more games to highlight. We have some games going on, so we'll have those scores up before you momentarily as we update everything as this going on live. But definitely, we are excited. It's coming to a close. We're talking solidifying some of these playoff spots as conference titles are getting ready to be decided in a couple of weeks. So we're getting to the end of it, Greg.
Yeah, we are. It's been a very good season, and we've seen enough upsets out there this year. And with the 12 teams getting in, we're going to see what happens, right?
Absolutely.
It's the top four seeds are the conference champions that we all understand. I disagree with them getting the top four seeds automatically like this, and I think that's going to be changing pretty quickly. But it's going to be the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and the Big 10. I think it will. I think it will.
Do you think that they let the mighty SEC and Big 10 off the hook? You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I do not know. I do not know if that goes away. I think there's a lot of sway by those conferences,
And they should be sweating because these other schools deserve as much of a shot as these Big Four power conferences.
I agree. Listen, honestly, we've seen conference champions go in and not do anything in the playoff before. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen now in a longer format. But I don't think that it's automatic that you should be
in the quarterfinals. That you should automatically go to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think conference gets you a spot in there, but I don't think we see it with the NCAA tournament. You don't get an automatic, top seed as a conference champion. You get an automatic bid in, and then they seed you where they need to. And I think that's how it should be. If you're going to do it, if you're going to do it the way that you believe is best by rankings and seeding, then that conference championship gets you an automatic bid, but it doesn't get you an automatic buy. That part I agree with. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But once again, difference between college basketball and college football is those power conferences, the Power Four, have a lot of sway. So.
Because really, I mean, the ACC in basketball has been the dominant conference for years.
Yeah.
It used to be the Pac-12 when UCLA was running around winning all those titles and stuff like that. But
Indeed.
now, of course, it's been the Tar Heels or the Blue Devils, and they don't get an automatic bid to the final. They got to earn that. They got to earn that spot.
Absolutely. So let's start when we're talking some of the early games. There was an upset today.
Yes, there was.
ASU, unranked ASU, beat Kansas State 24-14 earlier today.
Yep. And well, it depends on which rankings you look at, because the one ranking did have ASU in their rankings, the other one didn't. But again,
AP rankings now.
Yeah.
I think the coaches poll had them. But.
Yeah, the coaches poll had them in.
Yeah.
Right. And boy, I'll tell you, Kansas State, they've had a weird year, a weird season. I knew when they were coming off of that bye week and they were going to play Colorado that they would beat Colorado, and they did. But man, I don't know what Avery Johnson was thinking out there today.
Another one, Stanford topped Boston College 38-28.
No. Boston College lost to SMU today.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the. Yeah. I'm sorry, they topped Louisville. 38-35. Right above that is SMU.
And what did I say? How many times have I said this? When you go to visit the farm, strange things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that game was at the farm. Hello, Stanford come out with another victory.
All right. So, how about this? Number 22 LSU goes between the hedges to Gainesville and loses.
Billy Napier has saved his job forever.
How about this? Here's a guy that they were starting to collect buyout money for week 3.
Yep.
Okay. He is now one win away from being bowl eligible.
And Brian Kelly, you should be able to pack your bag soon enough, because you don't understand how to play SEC football. You just don't get it.
Yeah, if I'm Brian Kelly, I know when I get in my office, I'm sitting there like this. Yes, it's starting to heat up.
Oh, okay? Yeah.
All right. I said it. Listen, I think Brian Kelly's a good coach. I don't think he's a national championship coach. And he's proven it. And to get it done at Notre Dame, he's not getting it done at LSU. And so everybody said, once he gets away from Notre Dame, he can do it. Really? Looks like the same guy from Notre Dame to me. The guy that can't, seem to relate to most of his players. The guy that seems to be yelling at a lot of people on the sideline. He seems to be the grumpy guy. The guy that threw Deshaun Kaiser under the bus in the draft.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's starting to be a little bit more accurate, right? How about Air Force taking out Oregon State? I mean, they didn't just beat them; they beat them 28-0.
Beat them
0 donuts.
And the 0 also happened to my Navy midshipman today. He put it at home.
Yeah.
Not a good day. Tulane just pounded them 35-0. I'm gonna have to be very, very nice to Bill once again this year, because the Army's gonna beat Navy again this year. It's not pleasant for this old Marine. No. Oh well.
Yeah, I was fortunate to not have to be loyal to any of the branches. I had a family, and although my father was a Marine, my sister was Air Force, my cousin was Army, my other cousin's Air Force, another Marine was my other cousin. So I got all over the family. My grandfather was, I believe he was Navy. My other uncle, his brother was Army. It's just throughout my whole family is military. So I got enough of the branches to sprinkle it around, so I don't have to have a favorite thing in this. So otherwise, I'd be sitting there like you going, who's going to win? I can't think if they lose.
But
So
but being the enlisted man that I am, these future officers I really don't care about.
I'm looking at one of the scores here, just trying to make sure. Okay, so we're going to have some of the scores coming up. But first, let's dive into our first game, Greg.
All right.
How about the Buffaloes? Talk about sitting in the driver's seat, controlling your own destiny. You're talking about coming into the Big Ten last year. Everybody felt that their shoes were too big for them. Well, not so much. They're in the driver's seat to play in the conference title game. We saw Draylon Miller have a big game today. Travis Hunter did Travis Hunter things. Shedeur Sanders was Shedeur Sanders. In Utah was Utah. Just you're not going to score with most teams if you can't stop them. Utah's defense this year, unlike
they are injury riddled. The Utah team is totally injury riddled. So again, when I saw all these guys hyping up Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders today, really look at the opponent. Look at the opponent, kids. This is not the Utah Utes that we saw the last couple of seasons. You know, the guys that would go and beat Oregon and the USCs and things like that. This is not the same Utah Utes team. So settle down on all the hype that you got because of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, their kids. Yes, they're good. They're good football players, but you know, you gotta look at the opponent and base things off facts here.
Yeah. I get Utah's beat up. Unfortunately, they're learning the harsh lesson that nobody cares whether you're beat up or not.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's how it goes. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. They still expect you to win or at least be competitive. And they're neither right now. So 4-6 after at least they were what, 2-2 after the first 4 games or something like that.
Yeah, they were 2-2.
Yeah. So been a bit of a rough road since the start of the season. You know.
Yep.
So,
and they've got Zach Wilson's little brother Isaac at the starting quarterback, who should not be a starting quarterback in college as a freshman. He needed time to prepare. Cam Rising gets injured. That kid's thrown out there. That's a tough task.
So, yeah, I must say, this game right here propels Colorado one step closer.
Yep.
I mean, they have another big matchup next week.
They have to travel to Kansas, and Kansas has been playing. You know, you look at those 6 losses. 5 of those 6 losses are less than 5 points a game.
Well, let's talk about Kansas. We're going to talk about that momentarily because we're going to have our scores pop up in a minute, up to the minute scores. And what you're going to see on there, because Kansas just kicked off not too long ago versus BYU, is Kansas is actually leading right now. So against BYU.
And BYU has won 3 games very late in their games, and you cannot continue to do that and be a successful team in college football. One of these nights, something's going to snap on you, and it could be tonight. And there goes BYU's unbeaten mark. BYU would then be in a much tougher place than they had hoped to be in the Big 12. And that would put Colorado that much closer to the conference championship.
Oh, yeah. And as we see on there as well, that's also going final. Arizona State tops Kansas State 24-14. So K-State, who is in the hunt for a conference title, not so much anymore.
They're gone.
Yeah. So, that's a big one right there. So we're seeing overall separation teams now. Teams that were in that hunt a couple of weeks ago now starting to fight for a bowl bid somewhere. Teams that are getting hot at the right time, trying to chase down that conference title. So kudos to Colorado because they're one of those teams that's trying to chase down that conference title, and you're seeing other teams fall behind. Now, BYU, this is your chance to stay in that hunt. And right now, you're not off to a very good start versus Kansas, but it's a good start. Doesn't mean you finish that way.
No.
Georgia, right now, hanging on versus Tennessee.
Georgia beat Tennessee 24-17. It's final.
There you go. I still got 9 minutes on mine.
No, it's final.
So much for this app. So yeah, and looks like Oregon's going to hang on versus. There's some little bit of some little shenanigans going on at the end of the Wisconsin game. Almost got it turned into a little skirmish. Yeah, it's getting a little chippy here as Oregon's looks like they're going to pull this out on the road in Wisconsin. They're in the middle of the kneel down, and what you're seeing is on the kneel down, the one of the defenders from Wisconsin didn't want to stop. He was still trying to get to the quarterback, and
yes.
Other guys were starting to do it.
I'm gonna prove how dumb I am.
And it was starting to become a little contagious. So a couple other guys started to keep going.
Yeah.
And it started to it almost got to the point where it was almost a fight. And it's still going on now. Yep, here we go. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, they're still going after Dylan Gabriel, even though it's just a kneel down. So this is gonna be one of those things that's gonna be a real contentious walk off after the game. They should really watch this at the end of this. But yeah. The fact that Wisconsin, they're diving at the quarterback to the legs of the lineman on kneel down.
That's a stupidity.
Yeah, that's a little. That's gonna be something that's gonna be a problem at the end.
When you've lost the game and the team is in victory formation, you just tap the quarterback. That's it.
Well, it's college. You don't even have to.
College, you don't even have to tap him.
Yeah, once he takes the knee, he's down. So yeah. So. That's Julio, one of our biggest online supporters here at Team MBS Media. We see you, Julio. So yeah, with Colorado, this is the right time to get hot. Doing the right thing. Unfortunately, there's going to be things that you still got to win out. They just don't, get into the conference title game, and they just got to focus on that. You got to get there still. In order to get there, you still have to win out. So Colorado's inching closer, and they're winning games that they're not as competitive right now. They're starting to blow people away, which is good. You want to see them sweating it out all the way to the conference title game. They're starting to win a little bit easier.
So Travis Hunter is supposed to be the number one guy for the Heisman Award now, right? He's supposed to be, according to these odds makers right now, he's the number one guy. Ashton Genty has broken 108 tackles this year. 108. He scored 3 more touchdowns today. I'm sorry, but Ashton Genty means more to a Boise State Broncos victory than Travis Hunter does to a Colorado Buffaloes victory. This is the same argument that I had about Kenneth Walker III over Bryce Young, which I lost out. Because Kenneth Walker III for Michigan State that year, he brought back an entire program on his back. That should mean something.
It should.
And what Ashton Genty is doing for Boise State is just phenomenal. Absolute phenomenal football.
So we've gone final in Madison, Wisconsin. Oregon does pull it out 16-13. So there's that.
Boy, that's an awful close call for this Oregon Ducks team.
Yeah, well, listen, they were supposed to go into Madison and dominate. They didn't do it. They held on. So, style points do matter in college football. They'll give them a pass on this. We know that.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's overtaking them for the number one spot, so they'll be number one next week. So I don't foresee anything there as far as any major shift in their ranking.
And Georgia has the football back again here.
Yeah. So we got Georgia here, and I'm going to flip this over here so we can peek in on that one while we're live here so we can make sure everybody's updated. Yeah, 8:47 left there in the fourth. So plenty of time left for Georgia and Tennessee. And Georgia's got the ball and moving up, matriculating their way down the field, as Hank Stram would say. All right.
But now there's only 6 teams in the SEC for a possible tie because LSU and Missouri both lost today. So the 8 teams are down to 6.
Yeah.
That's it. So we'll see what shakes out after this Tennessee Georgia game. It'll be interesting.
Greg, we get to talk about your Irish.
My Irish?
Your Irish, who went on to top UVA in South Bend, 35-14. Jeremiah Love, 137 yards rushing, 2 TDs. How about 5 takeaways for the Notre Dame defense, 3 INTs, 2 fumbles. So your defense was on fire today. Saw some great things from your special teams. Unfortunately, they had a touchdown that was amazing, got called back, but it was a nice little punt fake that went 70 yards. The refs were not your friends today. I can honestly say that.
I can't hear you over the fight song. I got the fight song on. I'm doing great. Oh, okay. Now I'll listen to you again here.
So we were just talking about Colorado controlling their own destiny. Same thing with the Irish. You win out, you're definitely in the playoff. You lose again, you don't have the conference alignment to save you.
That's right.
So it muddies the water a lot if you lose another game. So you guys have to win out.
Well, we get to play Army next week at Yankee Stadium. It's basically a home game for the Army. However, in New York, as you're well aware, and the New Jersey area, there's a huge amount of Irish fans, and they will be flooding Yankee Stadium.
Trust me, I know. I was one of them for many years.
Yep.
So I was a huge Notre Dame fan. Listen, that was one of the guaranteed things we'd see every weekend during college football season on a Saturday was Notre Dame on NBC. So we guaranteed to see Notre Dame. Luckily, we had ABC and everything else for all the other schools. Everybody that loved all the other schools, but the guys that loved the U and the Ohio State guys and the Michigan guys. But if you were a Notre Dame fan, you were guaranteed to turn on Channel 4, NBC4, and see your Irish every Saturday.
I used to tune into WDIV from Detroit.
Yes,
and they would show the Notre Dame game, not that school up north. That was always on some other minor network, but WDIV was where the Notre Dame games were.
So we're going to refresh our scoreboard there, but what we're going to also do is we're going to bring back that Notre Dame score because let's dig deeper into this. So the Irish go out there, you're up 35-0 in the third quarter. Wound up giving up a couple of scores late in that game.
Yeah.
But overall, the offense started slow before they got it going. Jeremiah Love was just phenomenal. The running game in general for Notre Dame was phenomenal.
But it was primarily just Love and Price today. The third member of the rush trio that they decided to make them, Riley Leonard, was a much much quieter effort running the football today.
And you didn't have to, though.
No, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
But he found success through the air.
That he did. 200+ yards passing to go along with
3 touchdowns.
Yeah. So I enjoyed watching that game because UVA is a hard out. And I said this when it was a 7-0 game. That is a hard out. You know, Virginia doesn't go lightly.
Nope.
Wahoo wah, as they like to say.
Oh yeah. And you know, the Tom Elliott, the coach there, he's got a new commitment to football at Virginia. They've updated facilities and things like that under him. They've got to get better at recruiting, and we'll see what happens for Virginia.
Well, BYU has the ball in Kansas territory. They haven't reached the red zone yet, but they do have a first down. So they're driving, trying to tie that game up. Georgia's still leading. They have the ball. They're driving. They're knocking on the door of the red zone in that game, trying to put Tennessee away. So we have that going on as well.
That clock is moving real quick too. It's down to just
3 minutes for the most part. Yeah.
Oh, how successful a running game can be for teams. Just how important is that running game? Oh, dear Mike McCarthy. Oh no, it won't be him. Jerry and Stephen Jones. Please understand you need to run the football. That's that. Yes. Yeah.
So the Irish defense, mind you, y'all have a lot of injuries on defense, so you'll have a lot of guys.
Oh no, we got three guys out. Brendan Morrison's out, and the one edge player and the 2 edge guys are both out.
Traore,
yeah, and
Burnham, right?
Burnham,
yeah. So you've lost quite a few guys, and there's no fall off on that defense.
What I'm impressed with the other side of the football is the offensive line, who has also lost players for the season. Those young kids are really developing into a very good offensive line, as you saw by the ground that Jeremiah Love made up today. Those holes were wide open. They were wide open.
Well, we got BYU in the red zone, second and 7 from the Kansas 9. So they're on the move, and I'm actually going to pull that up here so we'll be able to see what's going on there as well. Undefeated BYU. We're talking about Colorado. We just talked about Colorado winning earlier. Another team that's fighting to get to that conference title game. So right now they're trailing Kansas by 7, but they are at home. So give them a lot of credit for that. But yes, the Irish big win, much needed win, in my opinion. Like I said, you have to win out in order to really make it concrete that you're going to the playoff.
So if they did not lose to Northern Illinois, and they went unbeaten this year, this is where I got my beef having these 4 conference championship teams all getting an automatic bid to the quarterfinals. If Notre Dame was an unbeaten team this year, none of the rest of them are going to be in there. Hello. Why can't the Irish be ranked just as high as those guys? Oh, well, because they're not part of the power. Oh, give me a break.
Well, first of all, Notre Dame is the exception.
Yeah,
and I say that all the time, and people don't.
They are the independent school. I mean, that's it.
But the days of the independent are mostly over. Most people are aligned with the conferences now. But Notre Dame doesn't have to. But when you look at their schedule is just as tough as it. First of all, it's a loaded ACC schedule for the most part. You know, ACC with some Big Ten and Big 12 mixed into it. So it's no weaker than.
Oh, and don't forget they went down to the SEC for week 1 too.
Yeah, but it's no weaker than in most of the SEC schools. You know, there's no Mercer on their schedule. I mean,
Nope.
the closest you got to that is NIU. NIU is a very good program.
Yep.
So if they do play down, like most people do play down at least one game. But for the most part, everyone goes, oh, their schedule. Their schedule is an ACC schedule for the most part. Once again, you look at today, Virginia. You look at last week, Louisville a few weeks ago. They play ACC schools. So I'm not as critical of their schedule as a lot of people are. I know, the SEC has always been top heavy. Adding Texas and Oklahoma made it a little more top heavy. So
next year's schedule for the Fighting Irish, by the way, they were going to start the season off at Miami to face the Hurricanes. Then they're going to face the Aggies again, this time at Notre Dame. They play Purdue. Then they go to Arkansas. Then the Boise State Broncos come to town. The fight on suck guys from USC come to Notre Dame. The midshipmen come to Notre Dame. Then they go to Boston College. Then they play the Wolfpack of NC State. Then they host the Syracuse Orange, and then they're at the Pitt Panthers next year. Oh, that's a lightweight schedule, right? I don't think so.
No, that is an ACC schedule with a lot of heavyweights mixed in there, and then you have your step downs, but not too many. Like I said, they're not playing the Citadel, So I appreciate.
Oh yeah, that's who Dabo plays next week. That loser, punk.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've always knocked them for playing that. Alabama did it all the time. Like I said, Alabama played Mercer today. Didn't we say they had a bye week?
Yeah.
Right? So they had Mercer today. We knew that was that's to go along with the earlier games in the season when they had some. So every school plays down at some point to somebody in another conference. Right now, BYU's having struggles in the red zone getting into the end zone versus Kansas right now. So we're seeing Notre Dame load up on schedule, and they're winning the games. I don't hate a school for that. If they didn't lose the NIU and they were undefeated right now, and they go out and beat an undefeated Army team next week on a neutral site, they go out and they have they still have to play Stanford, right?
For what Notre Dame?
Yes.
Notre Dame plays Army, and then they go out and crush Fight On in their last game.
Oh, USC is the final one. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of those West Coast teams.
Stanford already got their ass kicking at Notre Dame. They got whipped. Yeah.
Yes. So I knew it was one of the West Coast teams they still had left. Okay. So it's USC they still have to face. Okay. So they got to go to the Coliseum for USC after Army. Okay.
Yep.
Once again, when I say it, that is a ACC schedule with some heavyweights loaded in. Now, USC is not as good as they were last year or the year before. But you can't go out there and think that you're just going to roll over them because they're not playing up to the usual.
But you always have to remember that is Notre Dame's number one rival is USC. It has always been the number one rival. And don't those clowns from that school up north ever talk about having a rivalry with the Fighting Irish the way that the USC has had, because the USC one has been there a lot longer.
That it has. All right. So we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. We got some more college football to talk. We'll update our scoreboard with our current scores that are going on, some of the games that are still going on. And we'll be back with more here on Team BS Media with the last word. Hang tight, everybody.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gulf Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, We make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. Hashtag built for the wild. Enjoy 40% off site-wide. Vitable takes the guesswork out of feeling good. Get your own personalized daily vitamin pack safely delivered to your doorstep every month. Take their online quiz to find out which vitamins and minerals can support your personal needs based on your own diet and lifestyle. Hashtag only what you need, nothing that you don't. All vitamins are manufactured in Australia at the highest quality standard. Ingredients come in the best form for their absorption by your body. Enjoy 40% off site-wide using code NBS40 at checkout.
No, Greg. Notre Dame isn't the greatest school ever. You have to try at least and be biased. Another crazy college football Saturday is in the books. So let's get back to the show and discuss it all. Thanks for tuning in. The Last Word, a show for the real college football fan,
is back. Of course, I'm Jeff Barnes along with Greg Rector. And we just finished wrapping up the Notre Dame game. We're going to get into some of the other games. I feel like we missed somebody.
Who did we miss?
We were talking about blowouts, teams holding serve, doing what they were supposed to do. We talked about your Irish doing it. Talked about Utah going down to Colorado. How they're beat up. Colorado was supposed to do that. They did it. Ohio State was supposed to put boots to somebody, and they did that today, didn't they?
Poor Northwestern, who just doesn't have anybody there anymore. There's no Greg Newsome in the secondary and guys like that anymore. Yes, the game was at Wrigley Field. For all those nostalgic folks who missed the days of college football at Wrigley Field. Northwestern, that was a home game for them, but yeah, Ohio State put the boots to them 31-7.
Yeah, they definitely did. They did what they were supposed to do, right? When you're better than somebody, you're supposed to blow them out, right? You're not supposed to let them stick around with you. Well, they weren't the only ones, right? Penn State, they're better than Purdue, right? Well, they proved it today, 49-10. Okay,
and Drew Allard hit 89.5% of his passes today, which is the best mark for a Penn State quarterback in over 25 years. Where was that against Ohio State, Drew? Where was that?
I told
you told me.
I told you they do not beat Ohio State. That is not Joe Pa. Okay.
No,
they don't beat Ohio State. Now those days are not. Listen, maybe when Franklin moves on and gets another job somewhere else, he decides to leave Happy Valley.
Maybe when
they get somebody in there that can beat Ohio State.
When they have their top receiver leading the team for rushing and their top rusher leading the team in receiving, boy, did that ever blow my mind. But anyhow.
I don't tell you these things to be sarcastic. I
understand what you're saying. But I still wanted Penn State to beat the Buckeyes at home. I wanted that beautiful large crowd. Oh, by the way, Penn State needs to add another 5,000 seats to that place. I don't care what it takes. They need
Where
to.
Are they going to put them, Greg?
I don't care.
We're going to put them on the lights. I mean, you can't fit more people in Beaver Stadium. You can't.
You got to get that place to be bigger than that big house is in Ann Arbor. That hellhole.
You just got to build another one. They don't build them like that anymore.
No,
Greg.
they don't. They don't.
I've been to Beaver Stadium. It is not the Horseshoe.
No.
It is not the Big House. It's not South Bend. It
Yeah.
is those stadiums. They don't build them like that much anymore. They really don't. You know.
No. And of course, I've been to South Bend 3 times. I've been to Ann Arbor twice, which was one time really sucked because they beat up on Notre Dame. The other time, Notre Dame beat the hell out of them, so it was great. But I mean, I have not gone to Beaver Stadium. I do want to get there for a whiteout game. I got to get there.
I've been there. I wasn't impressed, to be honest with you. The first time I was there, I didn't see the appeal of Beaver Stadium like a lot of people did. My sister-in-law went to Penn State. She was a Penn State alum. So it was one of the times I really got a chance to see the most of the campus. Was when she was there. My brother went down the road. He was at Lock Haven. That's where he played his college ball at. So he was about an hour down the road.
Yep.
From State Penn, as I like to call it. But I will say this. That is one of the loudest stadiums I've ever seen when it's filled. Make no bones about it.
Yeah.
They love their Penn State football. Unfortunately, Ohio State, when they come there, they're pretty hard on the Beaver. So, and there's a pun from Leave It to Beaver, not anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unfortunately they just don't beat them, but they do beat Purdue, and they beat Purdue handily today. And that's what they're expected to do. You're number 4. They're not very good. You're supposed to blow them out. Do not leave room for error. We've seen a few teams make that mistake today. So kudos to those teams for going out there and doing what you're supposed to do. You're better than the other team, not just by record, overall talent. You got the job done. SMU almost stepped in that pothole. Okay. They're better. Okay. They're better than Boston College. Boston College almost took it out today.
They showed up in the fourth quarter, and
they pulled away late, but they were sweating.
Oh yeah,
we just saw it with Oregon. Oregon is better than Wisconsin, but for 3.5 quarters, they were sweating it out because they were losing. They weren't supposed to be losing that game. Everybody thought this was going to be another one. They smoked another. They only
had that one lead. That was the only lead
they got late and held on to 3 points. 3 points. Right? You know what? BYU is better than Kansas. Kansas is winning right now, 7-3. Okay? So if you're better than a team, you better not miss. You got to go out there and get the job done. So we're going to slide into some of the other games from earlier that we wanted to highlight, but I wanted to mention one more. We kind of mentioned it earlier. We touched up on it, but we didn't really finish it. USC knocks off Nebraska today.
Yep.
Out west. Nebraska started off so well, right? We talked about it. They go out there, they put boots to Colorado. Everybody thinks, Colorado is the overrated team. Colorado's making a run for the conference title. Nebraska is quickly falling down the rung. They'll probably be bowl eligible and get into a bowl game, and that'll be an improvement. They're 5-5 right now. One more win gets them there. You know what? Before we get into the next thing, I want to look and see if Nebraska has a win in their final schedule that we can see here. All right, so really deep dive into Nebraska here. Hang tight. I want to see. Looking at their last 2 games, Wisconsin.
Just get Wisconsin.
Wisconsin this week, winnable.
They go to Iowa.
Iowa, winnable. Okay. So as long as they split one of their last 2 games, they're bowl eligible. They're not guaranteed to split. Both of those teams are same record or one game better. So,
and Boise State wrapped up the non-power conference title today because they played Wyoming, and then they face Oregon State at home on the 29th. So
and they don't have a conference title game, correct?
No, Mountain West. Yep.
Oh, they do. So yeah, they'll probably win the Mountain West easily.
Yep.
But probably is the key word. Not giving them anything, they got to still earn it, as we've seen. So, I must admit, this is excuse me. This is going to be an interesting thing going forward because Boise's going to do what they got to do. But yeah, looking at some of these teams that are fighting for bowl bids, that are fighting for playoff spots, this peeking through the earlier games, there's a few other ones that we could mention as well.
Well, I want to talk about how lucky Dabo Sweeney got.
Well, we're going to get to that one. I was setting that one up, but yeah, we can talk about that. But there was one more before we got to that I wanted to get to because it's a very similar situation. And if you stay in the Big Ten, Rutgers. Remember how hot Rutgers started? How big, Schiano was going to have them, and
yep,
they're 6-4 now. They're bowl eligible. They'll go to a bowl game. That's all they are. You know what I mean? So another team that started off really good, kind of fell back to where they really are. They topped Maryland today. They put Maryland at a point where Maryland has to win their last two, or there's no bowl for Maryland. And I feel bad for Mike Loxley. He's a very good coach. Just can't seem to get that program fully on its feet. They stand up, they get knocked back down. They stand up, they get knocked back down. But right now they're on their butt trying to get back up. So I'm hoping they can do that. But Schiano, everybody was saying, he turned it around. He did it. They're 6-4 right now. They're going to a bowl game. They've assured themselves of that. They can only get a better bowl from here on out. But they're not even close to contending for a Big Ten title. Not even close.
And Georgia just beat Tennessee 31-17.
There you go. So when we add the scores back, we'll add that new update as well. So Georgia's handling their business. They've now basically eliminated Tennessee from the conference title talk, right? Tennessee's going to a bowl. That's their third loss, I believe. So they're not. Huh?
That's their second loss.
Their second loss. Okay. So they're still in the playoff hunt. But that's their second conference loss. So 10-1, they're not playing for a conference title. So that's it.
Well, if Texas A&M beats Texas on the 30th, then we got a whole big mess of stuff.
That's true.
That's how true. Tennessee stays alive.
Yeah. But they got to leapfrog a few teams.
But see, now this means with Tennessee losing today, and if BYU does end up losing to Kansas, that means that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going to be playing a home game in the playoffs, baby.
If they win out.
If they win out. I'm saying if they win out, I mean, they're going to beat Army, and that's not and fight on. I mean, that's just that's going to be a fun game for that.
Right. You haven't learned the Notre Dame lesson.
Okay? Oh no! We learned that lesson. We learned that lesson against NIU, and that's it. That's
not even. Just think back. How many times have we talked about them? They're going to a playoff. All they have to do is beat Stanford at the end of a season. All they have to do is beat USC at the end of a season, and they go out west and lose. Right? That's happened plenty of times recently. Yeah. So, but learn the Notre Dame lesson.
That was with Brian Kelly. Marcus Freeman lost too early in the year every year, like against Marshall and other schools like that. So he's never been in this position. Now, that's right. So with Marcus Freeman in control, things are going to turn out just fine for the Irish. Okay, that's my prayer, my hopes, my dreams. Yes.
Make sure you go put a coin in the wishing well tomorrow.
So, oh yeah.
So yeah, now we can kind of slide our way over to the Clemson game. Clemson Pitt. Clemson was up. Pitt came back, stormed back late in this game in the second half. They wound up pulling out. Because I was watching this go, Pitt's down 17-7 now. What's going on, Pitt? I thought you would have put up a better fight. And then all of a sudden, I turn around, it's 20-17. Pitt. So, hello.
Yeah.
What's going on now, Clemson? I thought y'all had this in the bag. And all of a sudden,
Cade Klubnik got loose. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but he got loose and he scored the go-ahead touchdown. But the officials, Nate Yarnell, by the way, starting for Holstein, I mean, he threw for 350 yards. It was a pretty phenomenal game for Desmond Reed. He had 176 yards for the Panthers. But it was really a call by the officials that really annoyed me. But hey, we all know how we feel about the officials in football. They all suck in every game. They miss stuff, and it happened again. So, and then Clemson held on and got the interception at the goal line at the tail end of the game.
Yes, he had a Russian TD that he kind of ran into a crowd and somehow appeared on the other side. Yeah, that was one of those games that made you wonder about these two teams, right? You said, okay, we thought Clemson was dead early in the season the way they started. They came roaring back. They had a tough loss a couple of weeks ago. Pitt had plenty of chances to set themselves as the top team in the conference. Had some losses over the past couple of weeks that really were head scratchers. And then they turned around.
When they lost to SMU, I wasn't shocked, but
I thought they would have put up a better fight against SMU. It was a good game.
SMU reminds me of another team from that area of a couple of years ago, the TCU Horned Frogs. They get you when you don't expect to get got, and they get the advantage on you. And that quarterback of theirs is talented. He is talented. I mean, he can motor with the best of them.
Great. They're just find ways. They're a gritty team. You have that team that you don't look at them and go, wow, they're ultra talented. There's an amazing collection of talent. They have good players, no doubt about it, but they're gritty. They just find ways to keep grinding out wins.
And which reminded me of what TCU did a couple years ago.
Yeah,
that's how TCU was beating you. They would just outgrind you. So, I give SMU all the credit in the world for this season that they've had. They've been remarkable.
My one knock on Pitt in this game is Nate Yarnell, and you'll see soon in a minute. 54 attempts. That's not the way to beat Clemson. He's throwing the ball way too much. And you think about it, he had a lot of yards, not a lot of TD passes, just one. He did have the INT as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that Pitt, they were trailing. They found a way to fight back. Almost pull this off. But I think that they just, you just got to find a way to win.
But the Panthers blew it early in the fourth quarter. They blew it early in the fourth quarter because they had that 1st and goal. They were inside the Clemson 5. And they ended up taking an illegal formation, a delay of game, and a false start penalty. You just can't do that. You just can't do that.
But once again, you're gritting it out, right? So any mistake is going to be glaring.
Yep.
The way they've won has been get a lead, okay, maintain it. If you can blow the team away, you do it. If you're in a tight game, you don't make mistakes. You force the other team into some risky throws and turnovers, right? But they play usually a lot more disciplined than what I saw today. And they were very undisciplined early in this game.
But this is what's cost them. This is their 3rd straight loss, and it's been the pre-snap penalties that have cost them against SMU, against Virginia Tech, and now against Clemson as well. And that to a Narduzzi coach team is a bit of a shocker. And I don't think he's going to be a very nice gentleman to his lines this week. They're going to be punished. Film study is not going to be pleasant, and get out on that field, and you had better stay in your damn spot, sunshine. You don't want to be the guy jumping offside. Nope.
So Matt Brown looks like he's going to hold on. Right? Looks like he's going to hold on. Matt Brown's going to get win number. Wait for it. 6. They will be bowl eligible if this score hold. It just held. They just won. So UNC just won 31-24 over Wake Forest. They just got their. I thought they had their 5th one already. They should update in a second. Yeah, unfortunately, the app is a little slow.
But that should be win 6.
That should be win 6. So yes, so they got their 6th win, so they are now bowl eligible. So Matt Brown, who honestly I thought maybe it was time to step away last year.
It's still time. It's still time. Yeah. He's got to go back into the studio and do what he does. He did a good job in that studio. He did.
No, he did. I think Mac is good in the studio. It just comes a time as a coach where, especially an older coach like that, where unless you're constantly adapting, as the game is, it kind of passes you a little. It's passed Mac a little. It really has. And I'm not saying that to be mean.
No.
I've coached for older coaches, and sometimes the game really does pass you by. You're still trying to do stuff that nobody does anymore. I remember when I was a young offensive coordinator, we were running the West Coast offense, and one of the guys they brought in to be my assistant as a consultant was a former head coach, and I used to play and coach against his teams. And he used to love to run the Chuck Noll offense.
Okay.
The 70 Steelers offense.
Yeah.
So he ran it, and they were really good at it when I was playing. But by that point where I was coaching, it was passé. You know what I mean? It advanced. Football had passed it. So the stuff that he was trying to do, it was just like, yeah, we're beyond that at this point. If I do that now, these guys are going to crowd the box and kill us. We can't do that. So, sometimes the game really does pass you by as a coach. So it was kind of hard to tell, 70-something-year-old coach that I knew at that time. He, was in his 80s when I became a head coach of the team he used to be a head coach of. It was hard to tell him that it was past it. Even when he won the championship years later, when he went back to the Westchester Packers before I got there.
Yeah.
They won a league championship, but the offense had bottomed out. They barely moved the ball. because they didn't have a quarterback that could consistently throw the football. So it became about an athlete playing the position, and his offense wasn't built for that. It was built for a pocket passer. So the passing game was inconsistent or non-existent, and if they weren't consistently running the ball, they weren't scoring enough. So, but they just happened to be good enough that night to win a championship. The next season, when I was an offensive coordinator for a different team, we overtook them late in the season for the division, bumped them to a wild card, and they got bumped out of the playoffs after he was forced out. So it just so happened that the game did pass him by, and we've seen it in other instances. But overall, it just so happens you don't want to be that coach, and it's not an insult sometimes to say that to the guy who just say your time was good. Bill Parcells was that guy. You know what I'm saying? You're a Bill. You know you've seen Bill Parcells coach your team. When he coached in Dallas, he was not the same guy he was with the Giants or the Patriots, for that matter.
No, because he was too stupid to understand that the 3-4 defense was not going to work for the Dallas Cowboys with the personnel that he had, and he still went ahead and tried to turn that into a 3-4 defense, and that was not the Dallas Cowboys. It was never in the lexicon of the Cowboys to be a 3-4 team, and he just kept it in his head. That's the way I want my defenses to be, and no.
Yeah, he was a one size fits all. It was my scheme fits everything, and it wasn't that way. And he kept trying to force it, and his coaching style was the same way. You know, when he got in the 3rd and long, and he didn't feel comfortable throwing the ball down the field, what did he do? Screen and draw. Okay, yep. Screen and draw with punt and play field position. Right? Yep. That day is over with. You have to be able to convert 3rd and 11, 3rd and 13 in this day and age of football. Why? Because you can't play like that because teams will beat you. You give them too many chances, they will beat you. So I think it's the same
story with Mike McCarthy and his damn offense right now.
Well, we'll talk more NFL tomorrow. But I'm making that analogy from Mac Brown in North Carolina because that's what I'm seeing with North Carolina. I'm seeing a guy his team just seems to be behind a little bit of the time. And he was just winning and doing so much with that team a few years ago. It just so happens that, yes, the offense may be a little more modern, but his defensive scheme isn't stopping enough teams. He just so happens to keep Wake Forest from scoring 30 today, which is how they won. They only scored 31. So
exactly.
We'll get the up to the minute scores up soon. Momentarily, to be exact.
BYU is up 10-7 right now, but the Jayhawks are about to put some points on the board.
Yes, they are knocking on the door. So we'll get that scoreboard up anyway, and when that changes, we'll update it as needed. So going through the current games, so we just mentioned the BYU game. Washington State leads New Mexico 28-14 in the 3rd. Memphis all over UAB with 2 minutes left in that game, 46-18. Almost not worth mentioning. Brock Vieira, reason why he's not here, because UNLV is currently beating San Diego State 21-0 in the 2nd quarter. So going back to what we were saying, I just think that when you talk about what we saw with Dabo and Clemson, okay, here's a guy now, he's back in the driver's seat. He could win another ACC title. It could be an automatic bid to the playoff, and all of a sudden you got scary Clemson hanging around again. I told you and Brock not to go over there and try to get the guy fired.
You still have SMU and Miami who are going to play for the ACC title. Clemson's not going there, and they're not going to be in the playoff. Bye-bye. Enjoy your bowl game there, Dabo.
All I'm going to say is the guy's 8-2 right now. And he ain't dead yet. However, he will be ranked higher than 20 when the new rankings come out this week. where he'll be in the playoff picture is probably still on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But his path is an automatic bid. Now, Miami, one loss, but it's in conference.
SMU is unbeaten in the conference.
Yeah, so SMU is there.
And-
So
and-
Miami's got to hold on.
And Clemson's got a loss in conference.
Yes.
And they get to go to South Carolina, who's won their 4th straight game this week, as they beat up on Missouri.
That was one of the games I really wanted to dig into.
Yeah.
So let's dig into that. Okay, so 21 and 23. All right, Missouri at 21, South Carolina. All right. The Gamecocks pull it out 34-30. Right?
Yeah.
Tight game. Both teams are now 7-3. Both you have a 5-3 conference record for South Carolina, 3-3 for Missouri. So Missouri still got more to make up for. But boy, oh boy. We were talking about this Missouri team possibly being the conference championship earlier in the season when they were going out there winning games. We were talking about them possibly making the playoff. Neither one of those are reality right now.
No.
They'll be in a bowl game.
As soon as Gable hurt his ankle, that team was done for.
So this is going to be an interesting thing here, but this game literally was a battle from start to finish. This wasn't one of those games where it was a blowout and they came back late. You're talking about the game where they went back and forth in this.
Yep. Columbia, Missouri versus Columbia, South Carolina. And those Gamecocks at home are just a tough team. That is just a tough place to go and play.
I mean, you talk about Sellers, 353, 5 TDs passing.
Yep.
And he didn't throw the ball more than 30 times.
Nope.
He threw it exactly 30 times.
Yep.
Cook threw it 31 times, only had 237, 1 INT, 1 TD, but you had 150 on the ground from Noel with a touchdown. All right, so we see Missouri's running game coming through for them, but unfortunately their defense couldn't get it done. They got gashed in the air. And then they also went out there and they didn't give up a 100-yard rusher, but they did allow, over 100 yards rushing as a team to South Carolina. So over almost 500 yards of offense they surrendered to South Carolina.
Yep. And to all those people who had Luther Burden as the top wide receiver for this draft class, go away. Goodbye. His name is Terrio McMillan. That is the number 1 wide receiver, kids. If you saw what Arizona did to the opponent last night, you'll understand that.
Yeah. Yes, you would be talking about the Arizona Desert Swarm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and their big win on Friday night over Houston, 27-3.
Yep.
So we're getting to that point, Greg. It's 11:42. We started the show at 10:30. We're getting to the time to wrap it up, but we got to do the statement. So the statement, we always talk about what team made a statement today in college football. So Greg started.
You go ahead this week. You go ahead first.
You want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
You want me to go first? I tell you, Greg, I am more than happy to oblige you. Listen, I'm going to go right back to it because they were one of the teams that made a statement last week, and they continue to do it this week. I'm talking about the Colorado Buffaloes. Yes, they were better than Utah. Yes, Utah's beat up, and they showed you, yes, we're better than Utah too. And we're going to go out there and beat them. We're going to continue this run. As Coach Prime said, we're here. No. We've been here now. Okay, we've been here is what they're saying now because they're playing simple. They're showing you, yes, we're good. No, We're better than good. We're a contender. We're going to go out there. We're going to push to get to this conference title game. We're going to try and win it and go to the playoff. Colorado was looking at bigger things than just trying to win and get to a bowl. They're trying to get to the big dance. They're trying to get to the college football playoff. How do they do that? Their one path is through that title game. And they seem to be fixated on getting there. So to me, they're making the biggest statement right now on the day so far is plain and simple. They want it. They're coming for it, and they just might get it.
They might. My statement is going to be a refrain from me, and it has been for weeks. Ashton Genty is the number one guy for the Heisman Trophy. I don't care what Travis Hunter does as a cornerback and a wide receiver. Ashton Genty is leading the Boise State Broncos on the ground. He's now got 26 touchdowns on the season. How many touchdowns does Travis Hunter have? Nowhere near that amount. Ashton Genty is busting up defenses by breaking tackles. He's now broken 108 tackles this year. The guy has just been so damn good. And it's time that Derrick Henry is not the last running back to win a Heisman Trophy. So it's Ashton Genty, the Boise State Broncos. 3 more touchdowns today. That is my statement of the day, and I'm going to keep telling everybody that it's Ashton Genty's Heisman Trophy to win or lose.
Very good. So we do our look ahead to week 13 as we are getting real close to.
Oh, there's only one game next week that I want to discuss, and that's those Buckeyes against the Indiana Hoosiers, who are off this week. Oh, my goodness. And Curt Cignetti just signed a $9 million for 8-year deal, $72 million to stay at Indiana. So all those guys out there with those dreams of Cignetti leaving, I told you before, Curt Cignetti was serious about turning around the Indiana Hoosiers. He proved it today by signing that contract, and those Hoosiers are going to give the Buckeyes a battle. This is not going to be a cakewalk, because last year Indiana almost beat the Ohio State Buckeyes.
They did.
And the Indiana Hoosiers are a whole lot better this year, not just because of Curtis Rourke, but those 13 other transfers that Cignetti brought from James Madison. And you look at their run defense, it's the second best in the country. So Mr. Henderson and Mr. Judkins are going to be in for a test. So then it leaves you with Will Howard and Igbuka and Sims and Tate at the wide receiver position. Well, Indiana's been awfully good in their secondary as well. So that's the game I'm looking forward to next week.
See, I was going to use, the phrase my Hispanic friends would say, "Calmate, primo, calmate." But it was good that you got to run with it. So, all right, that was a good look ahead. You also have, if you're going to stay with the Big Ten, Penn State, Minnesota. Minnesota is known for giving Penn State and other Big Ten schools a lot of problems late in the year. So that's going to be interesting as it's in Minnesota, not in Happy Valley.
Yep.
Also, Pitt, Louisville. Okay, I find it interesting. Pitt 73 is not ranked. Louisville at 6-4 is ranked 19. Well, was ranked 19. They'll probably fall out of that. They may top 25, but they should fall out of the top 25 after losing today. LSU will host Vandy. Both teams are 6-4.
Mr. Pavea, enjoy yourself in beating Brian Kelly. Enjoy it, Vanderbilt. Enjoy.
The Fighting Illini, 7-3 Illini, travel to Jersey, inhale some fumes as they go to take on Rutgers.
That could be.
It's my New York shot at Jersey. Because
Yeah, but I know how much you enjoy taking shots at Jersey. You were a New York native. Even though neither one of your two football teams from that city that you called home actually plays,
no, they play in Jersey. I've called them the New Jersey teams.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jersey
I
Jets.
remember going to Jets games at Shea Stadium. So that's how old I am.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I still maintain that the Jets need to leave New Jersey before they ever become successful and build a stadium in New York City again. That is the only way that they're ever going to have any real success ever again.
They tried. I honestly can say that they tried. There was a point before they built MetLife, the new MetLife, where they were going to pull away from the Giants and go back to the city. They were talking about a stadium on the west side where the rail yards are, the abandoned rail yards that they had. But they wanted luxury buildings. They wanted residential buildings. They said, "Oh, we want more affordable housing," and they built the housing, and it's not affordable, and it's all luxury buildings.
It's all luxury buildings.
Once again, the people that fought against their own best interest. Typical New York stuff. We don't want the stadium. I'll bring our team back here. We want to keep traveling all the way out there to see them. Yeah, well, now you got to travel out there, and you still can't afford the buildings that they built in those places. Yeah, bang up job. Yeah, typical. That's typical New Yorker stuff. There. Yeah.
And BYU just threw an interception in the red zone.
Yes, we're tied at 10 right now.
Tied at 10,
going into half.
And Kansas has the football.
All right. So, getting back to the look ahead, USC and UCLA. Renew acquaintances.
And it's at the Rose Bowl. The UCLA Bruins are going to destroy Fight On. I don't care.
Oh, man. Well, if Utah didn't have it rough enough today, getting beat by Colorado handily, they get to host Iowa State next week.
Yeah, that'll be a joy trip. Yeah.
So you already mentioned it, but I'm going to remind everybody, yes, you have the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers, the number 5 ranked team in the nation going into this week, going to take on the 9-1 Buckeyes at the Horseshoe.
And won't this be such redemption for the Indiana Hoosiers, who finally got recognized by the voters after they beat a named school, that school up north. If they finish within a field goal and or beat the Ohio State Buckeyes, I'm going to be ecstatic. I am going to be ecstatic.
So, how about this game? Ole Miss, number 11, fighting to stay in the picture for the playoff, travels to Gainesville to take on the resurgent Gators. They're now one win away from bowl eligible Florida Gators.
DJ Ugle, I'm sorry, you're a fine young quarterback, but the Mississippi defense is going to stifle.
Well, that's Florida State. DJ's at Florida State.
Sorry. The young kid. Lagway.
Yes.
Lagway. He's going to get swallowed up by Walter Nolan and that Bulldogs defense. All right, the running Rebels. Sorry.
I'll say this. I forgot UConn was a quiet 7-3. I really did. I forgot they were a quiet 7-3. They get to travel to Syracuse next week.
They got to pound Syracuse. Go ahead, beat them.
We talk about SEC schools and their tough schedules. UMass, 2-8 UMass gets to come down to Athens, Georgia next week. I mean, we know how that's going to go. That's an exhibition. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah,
This late in the year, I mean, come on, seriously. Here's another one. Tennessee next week they host UTEP, 2-8 UTEP. Even if that record was reversed, it's UTEP. They're not the almighty SEC schedule is not what a lot of people make it out to be.
As per normal.
Okay, so if BYU escapes tonight, they'll be 10-0, and they get for their reward to go down and take on ASU next week. ASU is 8-2, won again today. You saw them beat Kansas State.
Yep.
That's their reward. We're talking about Colorado. Colorado's got to fight to win out, but BYU's got to win out too.
And Colorado gets to go to Lawrence, Kansas next week.
Yeah. So while they're taking on the Jayhawks, who are giving BYU a fight, BYU gets to go to take on ASU, who just took out the Wildcats.
We got a whole bunch of early games next week too. That Northern Illinois plays Miami of Ohio on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Western and Central Michigan play each other.
The Tuesday and Wednesday night action games.
Yeah. Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, and then Ohio and Toledo. Even on Thursday, you got Southeastern Louisiana and Nicholls State. Then you got NC State and Georgia Tech on Thursday.
Yeah.
Temple and UTSA. Purdue, Michigan State. UNLV is visiting San Jose State on Friday. There's a whole ton, and boy, this whole next week is just full of college football.
And that's the beauty of it now. We still have to wait till Saturday night to see, or Saturday mornings to get the college football. Not anymore. You have college, like I said, Tuesday and Wednesday night action, as I like to call it, right? So those guys are out there balling out during the week. Then you got the Thursday night games and then Friday night games. So more than enough college football to fill your palate when you're not filling it with NFL football and pro basketball and hockey. And so if you love football, there's a lot of football out there almost 7 days a week. So
well, Black Friday has a ton of games.
Yes.
It has a ton.
So this game early in the season had a lot of luster on it, very little now. Alabama goes to Norman.
I didn't see Oklahoma as challenging anybody anyway in the SEC. I don't know why everybody is down on Oklahoma this year, because I just didn't see them having that big of a year to begin with. It's and you lose five wide receivers, you're dead.
Yeah. Once again, nobody feels sorry for you.
Nope.
Okay, and of course,
nobody feels sorry for me for Dak Prescott being hurt or anybody else in the NFL. And guess what?
Your top four pass rushers,
or the top four defensive ends. Yeah.
Now you're hurt even worse in the cornerback room than you started the season with. It's just. But nobody cares. No, nobody cares. That's how it goes. Nobody feels bad for you. You better win or else.
And what did I say? For moving the chains, what am I doing? Against the Cowboys. I'm not picking the Cowboys to win another game this year. I don't care. They're done. Why in the hell do we have to play on that Turkey Day game this year? This is ridiculous. They got it
because Tex Schramm's ghost will haunt whatever commissioner decides to move it. That's why.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Army, Notre Dame, the big game at Yankee Stadium next week, 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night.
And the Irish will beat the Army. I'm sorry, Bill, but your Army team is going to be with one loss. And you'll play Tulane for the championship.
Well, next week, we'll see if Brock is back. I know that most likely I'll be on the road. I'll most likely be on the road next week. So
You got a UCF game or a USC game?
No, this is the Florida Classic. This is FAMU and Bethune-Cookman.
Okay.
Over in Orlando.
Yeah.
So Camping World Stadium. So not as far a trek as the game over in Daytona for Cookman, which takes me 3 hours to get back home. This Orlando, outside of Orlando, I can get back and forth in less than 2 hours, about an hour and a half, depending on traffic. But it depends what time the kickoff is. It's usually somewhere around 3:30ish.
And that's when they got it scheduled for is 3:30.
Yeah, so that's a decent time to get out there, and hopefully there's not too much traffic getting out of there. Camping World Stadium's not right by the highway, but it's a little far enough off the beaten path where it's a lot of local streets you got to deal with, and parking here, parking there, and they got to figure out first of all, they got to find what lot they're putting us in. So that's a whole nother story. So, and that game is heavily attended because it's a rivalry game every year. For the HBCUs, those classic games mean a lot. I'm a Grambling guy. The Bayou Classic is one of the most attended games Grambling has all year, and it's not even at this. It's at Superdome. So, so these classic games are highly attended. They're very crowded. So, right involved, no matter what the team's records are. So, yeah, it may take me a while to get out of there next week. So we'll see what happens. But hopefully we can at least get Brock back as well. In the meantime, make sure you tune in the morning, as you saw on the promo during the commercial break. Moving the chains. 11 o'clock in the morning. Ashby should be back in the host chair, along with myself and Joe Cardozo. Greg in the chat. Get ready. We gotta shake up in the pick standings, Greg. So we'll unveil that in the morning. So once again, Greg,
I had my lone wolf pick come through for me. Thank you.
Well, listen. I when it comes to lone wolf, okay, my lone wolf was winning. Okay, the Houston Texans were winning, and they went and blew it. Okay, I felt like Denny Green after they blew that game. Okay, I had them. I picked them.
How do you think I felt? How do you think I felt when the Bears lost? With the Bears lost to those Commanders. I didn't know. No.
Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly how I felt after that game. I said, we had them. My lone wolf was hitting. I was having a week where I was going to take sole possession in the standings, and Houston gave it back.
Yeah.
Houston gave it back. So, yeah.
Hey, but you and Ashmere got the Thursday night game that Joe and I did not pick correctly because we both went with the Commanders. And
yeah. So you did have the best record for the week, by the way. You did have the best record for the week in the pick segment.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, we got to shake up in the standings. So we'll talk about that in the morning. Make sure you're tuning in for Moving the Chains once again in the morning. We'll set up your NFL day and get you ready for the slate of NFL games. But as far as the last word, we are out. We will see you next week. Either myself, Greg, or both. We'll see. Hopefully Brock's face is on the screen along with us. For Jeff Barnes, Greg Rector, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Everybody stay tuned and enjoy your week. Enjoy the NFL games tomorrow. Watch in the morning.